What's your creepiest glitch in the Matrix, or unexplainable thing that's ever happened to you? Taking the trash out at night. Super remote area, so I know for a fact we're the only ones around here. Getting close to the road and I hear very clearly, "Help me," from a female voice. Even knowing there's such a slim chance of there being another living person around, I still feel like I should look around and check it out in case I wasn't just hearing things and someone actually needs help. Take about 2 steps in the direction I thought I heard it. Hear a giggle in the same exact voice. Turn around and walk promptly back up the driveway because fuck that shit. Anyone who actually needed help wouldn't be laughing. I don't think. Edit. This comment is potentially disturbing. For a better time, skip it and head over to When I was a child, my sister and I were walking home from the park and a man called, "Help!" We found an open manhole, and could hear the man calling for help. But we could not see. "Hi monsieur," I was 9 and panicking thought we should crawl in to help. My sister, 11, had the good instinct to get our parents. When we came back with them, the man was gone. As an adult, I can see the whole thing was a ploy, the manhole right next to the park. It makes complete sense, but is still so creepy. You almost got fucking pennywised. Oh fuck that. Good instinct. "Help," she whispers softly, gently, all despairing, all intently, full of fear and small surrender. Hushed and muted, faint and tender. "Help," she whispers softly, sweetly, all serenely, all completely, full of grins and glee. Beguiling, luring, tempting, coaxing, smiling. "Help," she whispers softly. Nearer, nearing, creeping, closer, clearer. Eyes inside the darkness gleaming, glinting, crawling, laughing, screaming. I was working on my motorcycle in a dirt lot where I had crashed it trying to do a sick drift, breaking off the clutch lever and the gear shifter. I had brought a wrench set with me and I was using one of them to take off a bolt when I put it down on the ground to finish unscrewing the bolt with my hand. 2 minutes later I went to pick it back up and it was gone. I ran all around this dirt lot looking for it to no avail. Luckily I had a spare in the car. Fixed the bike and drove back to my apartment to shower as I was filthy. I walked in my room and sitting on my desk was the wrench. I was dumbfounded. 10M monsieur, that happens all the time. Is this a phenomenon I haven't heard about? Gave me fucking chills because I have a set in the garage hanging on the wall missing only the 10M monsieur. Apparently it's an ongoing joke that 10mm sockets always go missing. I didn't realize this wasn't just a me thing until I started seeing the memes about it. I once clocked out of work at 6 p.m. like I always did at the time, and began my hour-long train ride home. After I had found a seat, I went to sleep and woke up just before my station. From the station, it is a short bus journey, 10 to 15 minutes, to reach home. During the entire journey, I didn't use my phone and I don't wear a watch, so I didn't really notice the time anywhere. When I reached home, my family surprised me with, "You're home early. Everything alright?" Quote. I look at the wall clock and it is about to be 6 p.m. monsieur. I was too shocked to understand what happened. Checked other watches, cell phones, etc., and the time is absolutely right. A few days later, the admin emailed us the timesheets for the month. Times clocking in and out. And every single days for me was around the same 6 p.m. monsieur, so it certainly wasn't me having left work earlier. To this date, I haven't figured out how I gained between 60 to 90 minutes that day. Asterisk edit 1. Asterisk wow. Thank you for the pirate silver mateys. This is most popular comment ever. Gained an hour or so, and some karma to go with it. Asterisk edit 2. Asterisk the most common theory in comments seems to be the DST, and I have considered it before. The problem is that it should work for both time in and time out, and if I remember, the time in was the same as always and I didn't leave my home early for work. If I remember right, it also wasn't a Monday, which is when the clock reset effects come through at Work despite the changes going in on Sunday. Someone else is trying to figure out how they lost 60 to 90 minutes. 1985. My ex-wife and I were sleeping. There was a small sliver of light coming in through the window from a streetlight, so the room and bed were dimly visible. Our black Pomeranian was at the end of the bed asleep. I dreamt that I woke up, reached down to pet him, and he turned into a glossy black bivalve oyster thing which opened up to reveal rows of gleaming glass teeth. I woke up to my ex backpedaling up the bed over the pillows towards the wall. I asked, "What's wrong?" She said, "What is that shiny black lamb thing with the teeth at the end of the bed? Where's the dog?" Quote, "We had the same nightmare at the same time. This still gives me a chill. Sorry that your dog was haunted. That's actually a requirement for Pomeranians." Pomeranians. I've told this story before and could go into a ton of detail, but here's the short version. I am 100% sure I vividly remember a dog that apparently doesn't exist. When I was 16, we lived on the other side of the province and my uncle had this little Jack Russell named Crew. Crew went missing for several months and then turned up at a humane society over an hour away, and we were all shocked this little dog has made it so far. Anyway, that was almost 20 years ago, and the other day I was talking to my parents and was like, you know, whenever I hear about Jack Russells I think about Crew and that stunt he pulled, and they had no idea what I was talking about. Insisted my uncle had never had such a dog. I must have dreamed it, etc. Honestly, anyone else who would have remembered this dog has been dead for a long time, and I don't even have any pictures of my uncle. I have absolutely no way to prove this dog existed, but I'm sure that he did. They may have just forgotten. My parents are like this as well. Not that long ago I was telling them about a letter I had written to my dad while he was away a few years ago. They both insisted I must have dreamt it, but I found it not long after. Sometimes people can be forgetful. It doesn't necessarily mean Crew didn't exist. I was driving about 50 miles per hour, and a car ran a stop sign on an on-ramp and pulled out right in front of me. I remember bracing for impact, and then I was about 300 yards down the highway and I saw the car at the ramp in my rear view, just about to pull out. As someone who just watched all the Final Destination movies, I can confidently say that you're going to die. As somebody who hasn't seen any Final Destination movies, I can confidently say they're going to die. Edit. Hey, my first silver. Thank you to whoever did that. You died on the spot and your mind is living an alternate timeline. I was walking my dog and I was almost to the driveway when I looked down for some reason, and I looked back up and I ended up being back at the road about 6 blocks away from where I thought I was. I was so confused, but my dog looked completely fine. FYI, I don't drink or do drugs. I'm still pretty young. I had just pulled into the parking lot of where I worked and was walking towards the building. It was like 3 in the afternoon. Broad daylight. All of a sudden, I heard an ambulance's siren start sounding. Naturally, I looked down the road to try and see the ambulance. I see it approaching and decided to watch it for a bit. It was quickly getting closer, and it was about to pass right by me. However, there was a large SUV waiting to turn out of the parking lot and onto the road, blocking a few meters of the road from my view. The ambulance passed behind the SUV, probably about 50 feet away from me at most, and I vividly remember the siren becoming completely silent in that instant. The ambulance had vanished entirely as it passed behind that SUV. I was so confused. The road did not have many cars on it at the time, and it was broad daylight. I did a triple take and made sure that I didn't just miss it. I had a clear view of the road going both directions, and there was no more ambulance to be seen. No more siren either. I walked up and down the road, trying to find it for a solid minute, but nope, it was gone. I was well rested, not on drugs, and I didn't have a history of hallucinations. It seems dismissible, but I was completely aware of what happened, and I can't explain it to this day. As someone who used to have such hallucinations, security footage helps a great deal. Also, a pet is really useful. If they aren't responding, I could relax. Pets help so much with this sort of thing at home. Your username. My friend Sarah was in a nightclub, drunk off her face, when she got an overwhelming urge to tell a total stranger that her leg hurts. Edit. It didn't. All a bit strange. She ignores it, but it doesn't stop, so she walks up to this guy and says, "I know this is crazy, but I've got a huge urge to tell you my leg hurts." I know that's crazy. Again, sorry. Single quote. But he bursts into tears. Turns out his dad had just died, and they made a pact before that if there was an afterlife he would get a message to him saying a totally random phrase, so there could be no mistakes. Which they decided was, "I've hurt my leg." Man, that's wicked cool. My wife passed away a year ago today. Had some odd things happen, like a couple of old meaningful pictures show up that I swore were in storage. The strangest one was I vacuumed the carpet, and as soon as I was done, a diamond ring was on the ground right where I had just cleaned. It was like she was saying, "Hey, this one is real, don't lose it." Quote dot. This one is really lovely. I'm sorry for your loss. I hope finding these things brought back some wonderful memories. I remember driving my car to this intersection in this rural area, and I'm checking both sides because of terrible blind spots. In the corner of my eye, my mother is sitting there and says something like, "It's all clear my way." I look back and she isn't there. My mother had been dead for a few years at this point. This was also into the middle of the day, and I've never had it happen since. Edit. Wow, my first award. Thanks. I actually think that is lovely. I hope you found this heartwarming rather than scary. Sorry for your loss. I have a good one. I was about 12 years old, and woke up in the middle of the night needing to take a leak. I walked across the hall to the little bathroom, hit the lights, and was about to reach for the toilet when I glanced up and saw a face in the mirror. It was not my face. It was as if someone was on the other side, standing to the right, with their face right next to the glass, staring at me. I only saw it for the briefest moment, but it is seared into my brain. I screamed, and ran out of there to find my dad. Of course, my dad investigated, then calmed me down, or tried to. Eventually we had a prayer session, because I was so freaked out. Eventually I must have gone back to sleep. Fast forward to my 30s. I'd forgotten all about the event. One night, while visiting, my dad quietly brings it up. "Remember that one time you saw a face in the mirror?" It suddenly came back to me in a rush of memory, sending a chill down my spine. "Yay, I remember. Well," he said, "I sometimes think about that night." He looked down at the floor, with a serious expression. I saw it too. He went on to describe exactly what I'd seen. We have no idea what that was. Apparently when he investigated, he saw it and had a freak out of his own. Apparently the prayer session was as much for his own nerves as mine. I respect him for keeping that tidbit from me till my 30s. But I kinda wish he'd never told me. Wow, that sent a shiver down my spine. That's so scary to think about. Imagine going back to your childhood home now and breaking the mirror. Instead of a flat wall, there's a little room behind it, where somebody used to look back at you. Thank you for watching.